Hey guys, I'm here.
Hey.
Okay, let's get started.
I just noticed, is that a ketchup stain on your shirt?
No, it's a spaghetti stain.
How did you know that?
I was spying on you.
You were spying on me? That's kind of creepy.
It's just like the story by Barbara Demick. It's completely legal over there.
It's legal to stalk people?
Not necessarily. They weren't stalking, they were spying.
But what's the difference?
Let me search it up really quick. Oh, here it is. Stalking is to pursue or approach something.
And spying is the work of a government or other organization by secretly collecting information about enemies or competitors.
But that's an invasion of privacy. Think how poor Changbo was affected by neighboring spies. He couldn't even watch TV without being observed and listened to.
Okay guys, before we continue this conversation, let's read the prompt.
Barbara Demick wrote that in North Korea, spying on one's countrymen is something of a national pastime. In a 300-word response, examine how the North Korean culture of spying affects Changbo's interaction with family members and neighbors. Draw from your own experience, readings, or studies to describe another example of a spying mentality, giving your hypothesis for the possible motivations.
What do you think it's asking us to do?
Let's unpack the prompt. The first part of the question is how North Korean culture of spying affect Changbo's interactions with family members and neighbors.
Then we have to add our own experiences, readings, or studies to describe another example of a spying mentality. Give a hypothesis for the possible motivations.
Well, when Changbo's wife found out that he was arrested, it says that for the first time she felt the stirrings of fear. This probably made Miss Song think that Changbo wasn't responsible or cautious enough, which caused her to not trust him as much as she did before.
That's just one interaction with his family member, but there's another interaction with his daughter towards the end of the excerpt.
I saw that too. It's in paragraph 17. It says, Oki eavesdropped on her father and his friends. Whenever her father noticed, he at first tried to shoo her away. Eventually, he gave up, swearing her to secrecy. He took her into his confidence. Father and daughter would talk for hours, always taking care to keep their voices at a whisper in case a neighbor was snooping around. And at such times, they always made sure that Miss Song, the true believer, was not at home.
Well, those last two sentences correlate with what I was talking about earlier. Changbo and his wife are having trust issues. They can't trust one another to keep a secret.
Oh, why do you think other people spy on other people?
Well, I did it because I was bored at lunch. Why do you think they did it in the story?
In paragraph 4 it says, spying on one's countrymen is something of a national pastime.
How does that relate to Samaya spying?
Well, Samaya was born and had nothing to do, kind of like the people in North Korea considering it was a national pastime.
You know, I also think they did it for recognition, but I'm having a hard time finding when and where it says in the text.
Let me help you out. It was in paragraph 4. The newspapers would occasionally run feature stories about heroic children who ratted out their parents.
You're right, that is another reason they could have spied.
Do you guys think Changbo ever reported anybody?
Maybe. The person who told the officials might have wanted revenge for something Changbo did to him.
But I thought he didn't do that kind of stuff.
What do you mean?
Well, I found in paragraph 6 it states, I wasn't insulting anybody. I was simply saying that I haven't been able to buy those boots and I'd like to have some for my family. Changbo protested indignantly. I searched it up and the word indignantly means in a manner indicating anger or annoyance at something perceived as unfair. That shows that he didn't think that he did anything wrong. So maybe he didn't believe that people should get punished for that kind of stuff.
You make a good point, but remember, they don't specifically say anything in the excerpt about how if Changbo ever reported someone or if he didn't agree with it. One thing we can all agree on with is that his wife supported reporting people to the government. It says here that Ms. Song had at various times been the head of the Inman Band, the neighborhood watchdogs, who in turn pass on the information to the Ministry for the Protection of State Security.
Maybe Changbo doesn't really agree with his wife, but he's forced to care at least a little, considering it was her job for so many years.
So Changbo doesn't really agree with the reporting situation, but has to care to keep himself out of trouble with the government and his wife? That seems like a mess.
I know, right?
It's as if all of these rules made in the society are tearing families apart.
But it's also bringing them closer together.
Well, this class is over in a minute, so let's back up.
Oh shoot, I have a science test today.
Did you study?
Of course I did.